Coming in the ring at this time, we Class 799A Junior Heifer calves on the main as you side of the show ring with our judge Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa.
Well, good morning here on the Charolais side, and definitely looking forward to a really fun morning here. We've got a nice trio of heifers and a really outstanding way to start off the composite division. The heifer that leads off this class is just the most my speed as far as just her kind. I think she's one that's a little more moderate just in her size, so when you tie that together with just that female look to her head and coming back with a really soft kind of body shape, I think she's just as good as any of them in here at the ground in terms of her angulation. Get her propped up like that, and I think she gives you the look that you're after. So I think a really nice place to start off with, and this young man's yellow heifer to lead off this group. Heifer in second, I think Meximos follows her, and I think if you study her at the ground, you probably like her foot size and you like her bone work, maybe a notch better than the heifer that's directly in front of her. Really a stout-made kind of a heifer as well. She's maybe not quite as neat just in the shape of her hind leg. I think she's functional, no doubt, but maybe not quite as just attractive as far as just where her tail head sets up. Maybe not as neat there at the point of her shoulders, what wins this class, but a good heifer nonetheless. Probably like her structure a little better than this calf that comes next. I like this calf's length and his stoutness and her power. I'd like to change this one's angle of her shoulder and her hind leg and soften her body type to move up in this group. But a great class and a good way to start off. Congratulations.
Over on the percentage Charolais Heifers first class results, 732A Heifer calves. First place 441, Gigi. Zane Potter, Porter, Texas. Second 440, Men Goldie. Molly Cooksey, Roggan, Colorado. In third 442, Annabelle Chantel, William Hoops, Letts, Iowa. Up next will be Class 732B Heifer calves. The scratch in the class is 444. So 2 entries coming in this class, born March 1st and March 3rd, 2019. Once again, our judge on that side of the show ring, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa.
Front end very good in her shoulder to her fore rib, real good in her rear rib and flank. Balance up really well, very attractive, good kind of a female. Maybe not just quite as much as a heifer right ahead of her, but a good heifer. The heifer in third is one that I can sure migrate to really fast. She's really soft at the ground, soft middled, smooth made, a little bit flatter in terms of her muscle, but I like her completeness. Where she falls short a little bit and falling into the third hole, I'd like to lengthen her front out just a little bit, make her just a little bit more attractive in her head and neck, but yet just a high quality female. It's got a lot of good to her. This young lady's heifer coming around the corner is one that she too has got a lot of good to her. I like her length of body. I like her freshness. I think she's got as much future of any in the class, but here today she's just a little bit greener in terms of her condition. Just doesn't give us the forerib, the rear rib, and flank to compete with those heifers right ahead of there, but not take anything away from her. That is a very high quality female. Does have a lot of good. Young man still brings us a very nice heifer here to round up the class. She's got some muscle and power like you're going to expect in terms of high main Jew female. Just like to change her there in her tail head and her structure a little bit. But again, a very, very nice class gets started here today.
Here's the results on the junior heifer calves for the junior main SU female show. Class 799A, first place 1166, Peyton Farmer, Brownstown, Indiana with Sugar Sugar. Second, 1172, Baron Strope, O'Neill, Nebraska with Beth Dutton. Third, 1174, Ashley Miller, Arlington, Illinois with Gina. Fourth, 1165, Peyton Ballman, Quinter, Kansas, also with Gina. Fifth place, 1173, Wyatt Fector, Howard, Kansas with Miss Wisdom. Up next, Class 799B Junior Heifer Calves. The placings in your programs there on that Class 799A, 4-1 scratch 253. 4-1 scratch 253.
As we jump into our March class here, this is a pair of heifers that to me is very, very polarizing. And if you like them the other way, I wouldn't argue much with you. This is a good pair of females nonetheless. And, you got some trade-offs here. The heifer that I'm going to lead off with, I think she wins at the ground. And I know she maybe gives up some rib shape and some power and some dimension all the way through, but I think you start to build them from there up, and you read the angle of her shoulder and the way it's sloped down to her knee. I prefer that. And when you tie that together with just a little more athletic kind of hind leg structure, the way she goes, and when this young man gets her propped up, that's an up-headed one, really smooth in her kind and the way her shoulder lays onto her. I said she had enough, and I just tied with her structure and her kind and her female quality to lead off this particular group. A little more moderate kind of heifer that comes in second, and no question she's the upgrade as far as just rib shape and pin width and power. She's a proportional kind of heifer, maybe runs downhill just a touch. And when you get her out in motion, I think she's wanting to open and just get a little upright there in her shoulder and maybe not quite as secure there off her rear leg, but a good pair of heifers nonetheless. Very different, but both of those young exhibitors have done a great job. Congratulations on a nice March class.
Up next on the Charolais side will be Class 732C heifer calves. Looks like two coming in the class. Here's results on Class 732B. First place 443 is Colby Phipps, Belfast, Kansas with Schrader's Miss Ruby. Second, 445, Josie Schrader, Wells, Kansas with Schrader's Miss Mocha. The scratch was 444. So your program placings for 732B, 1, scratch 2. Once again, coming to the ring, Class 732C heifer calves. Our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa.
as we get out here. Interesting class, main end used as sort, and I think you've got some differences to look and talk about as you go through it, just trying to find the combination cattle. The heifer to go ahead and start with, and she's not the biggest, she's not the stoutest, but to me, she's the most complete and puts those things together that we're looking for and what I like. She bounces up extremely well. She's fresh, she's appropriate in terms of her maturity for this age. In my opinion, I love her front end, her length of front end, her smoothness of shoulder. She's good in terms of her rear rib and flank, square out her hip, and moves really well. Like I said, she's not the big, powerful heifer in the class, but she's a high-quality female that I like and appreciate. The heifer in second is a big, stout heifer. There's some things I just really, really like about her. I love her center body. I like her hind leg. I like her bone, the way she sits down, the way she moves up, where she sets her hind foot and drives away. She goes around the ring. She just gets a little bit plainer in her head and neck. Has a little bit more shoulder, which I could be acceptable for one with a little more power, but I just like to feminine her up just a little bit, but I love her power. Very unique breeding piece. I think it's got a lot of future to her. The heifer that gave me the challenge is the heifer here in third. Love her length of body. I love her length of front end. To me, just gets a little bit piecey, ever so slightly, a little tighter right there in her fore rib, and just depend on where she fits in terms of maturity and projected on her down the road. She's sound at the ground. She's long-bodied, still long-fronted. Nice kind of female. Good, challenging decision between those top three. Heifer in fourth, run into three really nice heifers right ahead of those, but just a good, complete, long-bodied female. Just needs more power, more dimension to compete with those heifers right ahead of her, but still a quality female.
Well, over here on this side, as we jump into our next class and respective weight category, a good pair of heifers here, and I apologize, it took just a second. This young man's heifer up in the lead was kind of fighting the halter a little bit, and I kind of thought when she came in, she was the one I liked just from a structure sense, and so she was kind of fighting the halter a little bit, and we get her out here and get her settled in, and I guess that reaffirms what I was thinking originally. She started at the ground, and I think just the size of her foot and the shape and the set to her hocks, just a little more athletic, and that's one that's still got something to her, and she's got a cow-like look about her head, plenty of rib shape and plenty of body to go with it. So, but for me, I guess what really separates this pair is at the ground. I think this heifer that leads off is just a little more athletic. The heifer in second, young man's got a really neat kind of female, and when she's parked like that, she's awfully tempting. Get her propped up, and that one sets her neck up really high. She's really neat at the top of her shoulder and just dead level in her spine and soft in her body. So I think she balances incredibly well. Where I'd change her is just in motion. She's a little smaller footed. She's a little upright there off both ends. If we could just find a different gear for her and give her a little longer kind of step there, I think she could really push to win this class. Because standing still, I think that heifer has a ton of quality. So again, good pair of females. Congratulations, those exhibitors.
Catch up on results here on the percentage Charolais heifers with our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa, Class 732C. First place, 448, Strader's Miss Scotchy, Weston Strader, Wells, Kansas. Second place, 447, Strader's Miss Silver, Kyle Phipps, Delphos, Kansas. Up next for the junior percentage Charolais heifers would be Class 733 senior heifer calves single entry. Over on the junior main Anjou females with our judge, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. There's results on Class 799B, junior heifer calves. First place, 1177, Lucas Liefers, Edgerton, Missouri with Maggie. Second place is over on the next page there, 1179. That is Madison K. Loschke from Kingsdown, Kansas with Getting Real. Third, 1175, Emma Haynes, Ovid, Colorado with Grace. Fourth, 1176, Mitchell Jackson Merritt, Carthage, Illinois with Gigi. Up next on the main Anjou side of the show ring, junior heifer calves, Class 799C, March or later. Judge once again on that side, Chad Holtkamp, West Point, Iowa.
Well, just one in this class, so we'll just go ahead and continue rolling on with this show. One that brings some really neat kind of breeding pieces. This is a stout boned one that's got some dimension and some power. Get her stopped like that, and she's pretty neat in terms of just her neck and her shoulder and how that blends into her fore rib. We'll bring her back out here momentarily to break her down further, but a really good representative of this October class. Nice heifer there. Congratulations.
Here's a result on the Charolais side of the show ring, Class 733, Senior Heifer Calves, first place 449, Turner Longacre, Kellyville, Oklahoma, with Raz. Up next, 2 entries in Class 735A, Junior Yearling Heifers. Judge once again, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. Also want to thank the American International Charolais Association's board members that are here, President Mike Shoemaker, also Cheryl Lux, Spencer Schrader, Donnie Letty, past President Larry Ludicky. Junior board members are helping us as ring stewards, Molly Smith, Kimmy Duran, Devin Bennis, and Haley Schweck. We also have staff here with us, Executive Vice President J. Neil Orth, Director of Activities David Hobbs, Field Representatives Floyd Wampler, Colt Keffer, Cody Beck, Ty Groshans, and Director of Youth Activities Caitlin Chisholm. Communications and Events Coordinator Rachel Booth. Thank you to all of our members of the Charolais side of the show ring helping us with today's show.
As we jump into our first spring yearling class here, again, just 2 heifers, but very, very different in what they represent from a genetic sense or even a breeding opportunity. This white heifer that's leading off this class is a little bit more my speed as far as just her cow function. I like the shape of her head and just the female qualities she reads with up front, and yet still I think she does so by giving you a really soft and maternal kind of look there into her heart and her forerib and flank. Really a nice structured heifer that's big-footed. She's long in terms of her step. So I just see a lot of maternal quality in this heifer that leads off. And the young man said she's due to calve on time. So I think that's really important as well. Nice job. Nice heifer there to lead off this particular group. Kind of an interesting yellow heifer here in second. And there's some parts of her that I really like. And you get right on top of the cattle. I think that one's got a really powerful kind of upper skeleton, and she's big in terms of her hip, and you know she's presented very, very well. So I commend you for that. That's really, really cool. She's just not maybe my kind as far as just the shape of her head or just the softness to her body and her flank. But if you need some power and you need some stoutness, I do think this heifer can bring that. So good pair of heifers there. Those kids have done a great job with those 2 big breds. Congratulations.
Over on the Charolais side, here's results on Class 735A Junior Yearling Heifers. First place 450, Turner Longacre, Kellyville, Oklahoma, with Kiki. Second 453, Shayla Dismukes, Chakota, Oklahoma, with Orange Kisses. Program placings 1-2. Up next, the ring with our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa, is Class 735B Junior Yearling Heifers. These born February 20th and February 24th, 2018. 2 entries on their way in the ring. After this will be the Grand Champion Percentage Charolais Heifer selection.
Really nice set of heifers. I think you've got a lot of debate and things you could talk about putting those things together in terms of coming up with a placing, and I do commend those exhibitors all the way through for really a good lineup, but the top end's really nice. Heifer to go ahead and start with, to me, hits me in just in terms of completeness, one that still has some, she's youthful, but she's got some power to her. She's really good in her center body. She's really good in terms of her front end. She's maybe not the longest, littlest necked out here, but I think she's very proportional, fits together really well. I think there's some things she does that I like really well. Like to lengthen her hip out just a little bit, but yet just a super complete female. Standing there, I think the heifer in second is just really excels in terms of the class. Standing there, she's really long and little necked. Very attractive down her top line out there through her hip. To me, I guess as you get there, just nitpicking her just a little bit, gets a little straighter in her shoulder, especially when we put her in motion. She loses just a little bit of her rib. I'd like to see her just a little bit more mature just in terms of her rib shape. I think as she gets it in time, she's got some unique pieces that I think are very fun to look at and really breed with and go with in the future. Just a nice female. Extremely well presented heifer here in third. I really like when the young lady gets her set up. She's very, very proportional, gives up a little bit of size and power. But most importantly, I guess, for her to be third for me, she's just a little bit smaller footed, a little more refined in her foot structure, and I'd like to soften her in terms of her rear pasterns just a little bit, just to set her down the way she comes about her hind leg. Presented extremely well, a good kind of a female. Big stout-footed one coming out here next. I like her length of body, her power. When he gets her collected, I think she presents herself really well in terms of length of body, straightness down her top. A little plainer in terms of her neck, and just gets a little bit uncoordinated just ever so slightly as we just put her in the move. But one I think's got a lot of future, a lot of good too. Young lady's heifer coming around the corner of her shoulder, doesn't collect herself together quite as well. Some of the heifers right ahead of her, but a lot of future to her. I think she's got just a lot of good as well. We're getting into another heifer here that I think gives up, I think the biggest thing maybe just a little bit of maturity, not near the bone and foot size as a few of the heifers right there ahead of her, but good functional kind of cattle. You can sure like and appreciate a lot of those things about her, and I do like her pattern, just not enough oomph and power to go ahead and compete. We switch over to just a longer bodied one that gets a little bit flatter, gives up a little bit more in terms of muscle. I can appreciate the fact she's really good down her top line, has a very feminine look to her, just need a little more body, a little more dimension. Next heifer coming out, young lady in the green sweatshirt. Big, stout, powerful heifer, one that got a lot of quality. To me, just got a little kitchen or get along. Just like to change her movement and mobility as you look at her from a long-term aspect. She just gets a little wider in terms of her base. I think one that could be corrective as she goes on. A good quality female, just didn't move quite good enough here for me today. Young man's effort coming out to class. Good female, again, just not the power to compete with those ones right ahead of them. Really, really nice class of maiden Jew females.
As we jump into our older group of springborns here, just two heifers again, and a very good, nice pair of females that I think have some breeding value, and these kids should be pretty excited about what they can bring to the next generation. A heifer that wins this particular class, I think is going to make an awesome cow, and I guess I don't know what your plans are for her, but that one's body shape is just massive, and she's so bold and cow-like in her look, and I think when you tie that together with the fact that she just gets out and handles herself so well for one that's that far along in calf, and I think yet still has that kind of dimension and rib shape and volume, I think is pretty impressive. She's maybe not the neatest thing, a little slicker haired, so it's just tougher to give you the really ultra smooth kind of look, but I think from just the basic sense, that one's got brood cow written all over. This heifer here in second might actually be just a shot tidier through the base of her chest, and I like just the extra substance she has at the ground. She's big in her hip and she's bold in her upper skeleton. Maybe not quite as powerful there in terms of her heart and how that comes back into her lower body. When you set her in motion, too, I think she's just a little tentative there on her right wheel. I just need to see this heifer get out and use a little more athletic kind of step. But, again, a nice pair of heifers nonetheless. Congratulations to both of those exhibitors.
Catch you up on results on the Charolais side. Coming in the ring, first and seconds. This will be the grand champion percentage Charolais heifer selection with our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. First and seconds in the ring. Here's the result on that last class, 735B junior yearling heifers. First place, 454. Kelly Spicer, Woodbine, Maryland with Dinah. Second, 455. Weston Schrader, Wells, Kansas with Schrader's Miss Phoebe. So once again, first and seconds in the ring from classes 732A, B, 733, 735A and B. Back over on the main as you side in the ring, class 800, last class in front of our junior heifer calf division championship. Our judge on that side, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. Here's the results on the 799C. First place, 1188, Virginia Merritt, Altus, Oklahoma with Grand Design. Second, 1182, Hunter Morton, Stratford, Oklahoma with Go Go Girl. Third, 1180, Shay Stone, Eaton, Colorado with Drit Gigi. Fourth, 1189, Ace McHatton, Medill, Oklahoma with Gettin' Ziggy. Fifth, 1190, Anna Merritt, Altus, Oklahoma with Got the Look. In sixth place, 1184, Trevor Minty, Adrian, Minnesota with Mint, Georgia. Seventh, 1185, Sarah Rimple, Athens, Texas with Right About Now. Eighth, 1183, Samantha or Sammy Schrag from Marion, South Dakota with Get Some. Ninth, 1187, Alan George, Mondovi, Wisconsin with Frankie's Lulu. Program placings for 799C junior heifer calves are as follows: 3, 2, 8, 6, 7, 9, 1, 4, 5. Top of the next page, scratch. Once again, the ring, class 800 junior heifer calves. These born January, February 2019 with our judge, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. Don't forget the official livestock photographer for the National Western Stock Show is none other than show champions. Check out the pictures taken in the arena and at the backdrop and purchase pictures online at showchampions.com.
On the main and juice side, really an outstanding class. I think this class goes, 3 or 4 deep of high quality females. And young ladies heifer to start the class, big outlined heifer, but one I think just beautiful in terms of her pattern. Put some things together really well. Love her front end and neck, the way she blends to her shoulder. Really good in her body sweep. Tremendous capacity, rib shape, still good in terms of her angles. Love her profile, like her on the move. She gets out there. Nice kind of a female to go ahead and start with. Heifer in second, I think the more she went out here, the more she relaxed. I think she's just got a tremendous amount of good to her. Big, stout, powerful heifer. Got a great presence about her. I like the way her neck comes up high to her shoulder. Just a little bit, just not quite as soft-centered, not quite the body dimension of my class winner. She's got a little bit more muscle, but I think she handles it really well, where she opens up a little bit to the top side of her shoulder. But yet I just didn't see the balance and body to go ahead and compete with the heifer right ahead of her, but I think that's one that's got a lot of future, a lot of good to her as well. Heifer in third, again, one that's good in terms of center body, got a real good cowy look to her. I like the length to her hip, how long she is from hooks to pins. Sets her hind leg down, I think, really well. She, too, gets her set up from the side. I think she looks really, really well. just not quite as sharp in terms of her front end. Maybe doesn't blend quite as well shoulder to forerib as the ones right there ahead of her, but a high quality kind of a female. The heifer here, the next one coming out, I think one, you get her on the standstill. I love the way she's put together. When you get her out in the move, you could tell she comes a little low out of her shoulder in terms of her neck shoulder junction, a little straighter in terms of her front structure. Just doesn't move around the ring and can collect herself quite as well. Young lady doing a nice job out here with a good cowie, big centered one, really smooth, just not as amplified in some of her traits as the heifers right ahead of her, but a good kind of female. Young man brings us a nice heifer, gives up some size and power, but we appreciate him coming out here on a female that's got some good to her, just doesn't have quite enough to compete any higher. But an outstanding class of main and two females once again.
Well, over here on this side, we bring all of our class and division winners back out for our champion percentage Charolais, and obviously a lot of these percentage shows will get a little bit of variation, but I think all of these heifers out here represent a tremendous amount of quality, and so depending on what your plans are with them, I can see you having a lot of versatility here and kind of doing a lot of different things for your program. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to talk a few of these cattle out here. This heifer that wins the first class, or our first division, she might be the youngest one in here, but I'm a pretty big fan of that female as far as just her foot quality and her joint work and her body shape, and everything fits together very well on her. She's got enough power, she lays on her smooth and maternally, and again, she proportions really well and balances nice from the side. So I know she's young, but I think she's absolutely in contention in this particular lineup because I think from a quality sense, she's very, very elite. Heifer that wins our second class, no slouch. In terms of just function, that's a really good-footed, long-bodied, smooth one. Maybe doesn't have the same kind of substance and rib shape or look, but if you just keep them basic and you keep them fundamental and you keep all the priorities of structure and function in check, I think she does a lot of those things. That's a nice heifer in that second spot. We get into this heifer that comes in 3. She was fighting the halter just a little bit when she was in class, but you get her settled in here, and boy, that's a good one as well. And she's got a really beautiful kind of shape to her hind leg. She's soft-bodied and very cow-like in her look. Again, maybe not just the extra pizzazz. She could be just a little neater there in her hip design, but certainly one that I don't question her long-term use. That's a really, really soft, high-quality heifer there. Young man's got her stuck and put together really, really nice. An interesting heifer that comes next. I think she's shaped from maybe a different mold of any of the heifers in this particular group. When she's standing still, she's pretty neat to look at. She's presented to a T. That's a heifer that ties together some real dimension and real upper rib and power, but still give you a really attractive kind of look. To me, her best look's right here, because when you get her in motion, she'll tighten just a smidge right there in her spine, and she's maybe not just the softest, but with her maturity, I think she has enough there. If I could relax that heifer's spine when she goes, I think she'd be a real heater, because standing still, that one puts together some things that I think are really, really challenging to do. Really a nice brood cow that's our next division winner. She's more sensible in her size, and I like her moderation and fleshing ability. Again, she's one that's very functional in her kind, maybe not as neat as some of the others as far as just the design of her hip and her hind leg, but it's certainly functional enough to go out and be productive. We get into our final class winner, and one that, again, is cut from a different mold. This one may not be the primo show heifer. She's slick-haired, everything stereotypically, but I like what she represents just from a cow sense. That is a big-bodied, bold, stout, powerful one that for that kind of volume and dimension, I think it's impressive that she can just get out and reach and have that kind of flex and range of motion. I like where she's at from an udder development standpoint as well. Like we said, she's one that's carrying a little extra condition. Her shoulder's a little open, and she's just not the extra pizzazz that some of these fluffier ones that have these great fit jobs on her. But I challenge you to find the quality in that heifer, because I think from a maternal sense, she's very, very nice. So again, congratulations. It's a tough decision. There's one that hit me pretty hard when she came in the ring, and I'll select her for our champion. Then I'll take a look there for reserve. But if you would help me ringside, congratulate all these kids. Give them a nice round of applause.
Your grand champion percentage Charolais heifer comes out of that first class 732A heifer calves 441 RR Miss GG 901 GET Zane Potter, Porter, Texas. That'll roll 440 into consideration reserve.
As we get out here to pick our first division here in the main end juice show and calf division, what an outstanding set of cattle that were brought out before us to look and evaluate. Tremendous amount of quality, and as you go through, and that a young heifer come out of that first class. We got her out there, and she's relaxed even a little bit better than she did right there in the first class. Beautiful in terms of her side profile, beautiful in terms of her pattern. She still has some power and dimension to her you like and appreciate. Just a high quality female, really good in terms of her angles, gives us that look that we're looking for. That's a high quality female that I sure like a lot about. Then we got in that second class, and as you go through, and I was very amped up as we get going through here today, and you try to find cattle that fit in terms of what you like, and she's probably more moderate in terms of her size within this lineup, and she was more moderate in terms of her size within the class, but you can sure appreciate that kind of cattle. Very feminine, very complete, really, really good in terms of her angles. I'd like to power her up just a notch, give her a little bit more dimension, but pattern, soundness, profile, I like a lot of things about that heifer in that second class, and still very, very comfortable having her out here within that lineup. Heifer out of that third division, she is one that just really reads just tremendously complete to me. She's got some shape. I like her upper rib shape. Bounces up really, really well from the side. Still very attractive in terms of her front end. That was a very challenging class to put together, and I think she still fits together and gives me, some of those look, and has a brood cow look to her that can still go out, raise a quality calf, and do a real good job as we project her on down the road. The heifer comes out of that last class, the older heifer of the group, bigger in terms of her outline. She's probably just a little bit edgy in terms of size for me, just a little bit. But when you talk about just pattern, quality, and kind, beautiful in terms of her pattern, very feminine. Love her belly sweep. She's presented high quality to us here today. Just a nice female. If anything, we'd just like to expand her just a little bit in terms of her forerib, a little bit, but beautiful in terms of pattern. We've got a good set of seconds. So give these main and Jew exhibitors a really nice round of applause here in the first calf division. I'll name your champion reserve.
I'll catch up on results for the class and the division in just a few moments on the main SU side. Champion junior heifer calf on the main SU side comes out of class 800. That's 1196 Goal Getter, Whitney Walker, Prairie Grove, Arkansas. That'll move 1199 into consideration reserve. And the reserve on the main SU side is 1166 Sugar Sugar, Peyton Farmer, Brownstown, Indiana. Up next, the main SU will be Class 801 winter heifer calves. I'll catch up on the results on that side in just a moment. Let's go back over on the Charolais side. While we're waiting for the official result on that Charolais side for reserve grand champion, let's go back over and catch up on results on the main SU. Class 800, first place was 1196 Goal Getter, and that was the champion for the division. Whitney Walker, Prairie Grove, Arkansas. Second, 1199 Calypso Maid, Madison K. Lotchke from Kingsdown, Kansas. Third, 1198 Goosebumps, Devin Morton, Stratford, Oklahoma. Fourth, Girl Power, 1197 Kinley Daly, Kingston, Oklahoma. Fifth, 1194 Good Times, Mary Merritt, Altus, Oklahoma. Sixth was 1323 Miss Jessie Jane, Carter Strain, Johnstown, Colorado. 5, 6, 1 and champion, 4, 3, 2. The results on Class 800. Class 801 coming to the ring, winner heifer calves, born November through December 2018 with our judge Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. Two classes in this next division. This one's a single entry in the ring right now. Reserve Grand Champion percentage Charolais heifer comes out of class 732C. 448 Schrader's Miss Scotchy. 944 GET Weston Schrader, Wells, Kansas. After the picture break on the Charolais side, we'll get into the Junior Heifer Calf division for the Charolais Junior Heifer Show. A single entry will lead things off when they restart after pictures.
Single entry here in Man and Juice Show, and young lady brings us a high-quality female that's really got a nice look to her, and one I think should definitely still stand some competition. Really nice as you stand back off of her. I think moves well, very complete. As we'll bring her out in the division here in just a second. But hats off to a young lady bringing a nice heifer here again in the Man and Juice Show.
Thank you, Mr. Holdcamp. Here's the result on Class 801 winter heifer calves. First place is 1202 Samantha Schrag, Marion, South Dakota, with Frizzle Frazzle. Next up will be the last class in the senior heifer calf division. That'll be Class 802 senior heifer calves born September through October 2018. 3 entries coming in on the main as you side.
It all starts with a dream, which turns into dedicating early mornings, late nights, long days in the show barn, and thousands of miles traveling down the road to the next one. The hours, sweat, and perseverance put into achieving these aspirations seem small in comparison to the bigger picture as it becomes a reality. And although you believed you were working toward the goal of banners and buckles, you later realized it was for something much more. Leaving your legacy isn't easy. It takes hard work, dedication, and a never-give-up attitude. But it's within these moments that champions are defined and dreams come true. Sullivan Supply, helping you build your legacy.
and kind standpoint for me, especially when we set up from the
CAF Division Championship. Here's the results on Class 802. First place, 1205, Chancey Clark, Muldrow, Oklahoma, with Fresh Change. Second, 1206, Annie Herr, Fontenelle, Iowa, with Figure It Out. Third, 1203, Jackson Carlson, Julesburg, Colorado, with Ali. As I mentioned, up next, champion senior heifer calf selection with our judge, Chad Holdkamp from West Point, Iowa. First and seconds back in the ring from Class 801 and 802. We're in a picture break on the Charolais side of the show ring. When we resume there, it'll be a single entry Class 728A for junior heifer calf for that division.
Out here in this this division here in the main end use show, we've got a pair of heifers to evaluate to be your champion in this division. I think both are really high quality heifers, and I know we've had just an awesome show here in terms of top end quality, and I think these things represent that really well. I think we have some minor differences between these two heifers that you would look and talk about. The heifer came out of that first class we looked at. She gives us really good look from the side. You like her extra extension, her length of front end. One heifer I think still is good in terms of the way she's put together in terms of at the ground. Now if I change her from a structure standpoint, when we get that heifer on the move, she gets a little up in her top, a little tight in her loin. Definitely like to change that about her, but a good kind of a female. The heifer came out of that second class and won. This is her best look when you get her off to the side. She's very smooth made, really good in terms of her maternal depth of body. I like her uniformity from her forerib back to her rear rib and flank. I like her balance. I like her kind. I think she is good in terms of her structure structure and the way she holds her top line and she moves out. Her angles are good. I just like to see her, as I talked about in class, I like to see her step just a little bit better in terms of her hind leg, but I really like that kind as well. And then the big stout heifer, not talk her out, do just a few in this division. I like to soften her up a little bit. I appreciate her muscle. I appreciate her flexibility. A nice kind of female, just got to soften her up. But for me, as we go out here, I'll go ahead and acknowledge here, give these three a nice round of applause. Good division again, the main and two show.
Champion senior heifer calf is 1205 out of class 802. That's Fresh Change, Chancey Clark, Muldrow, Oklahoma. And your reserve comes out of class 801. That is BK Frizzle Frazzle, 8009F, Sammy Schrag, Marion, South Dakota. We move to class 804, which is also division on the main SU. It'll be class 804 early summer yearling females born May and June 2018. Also, your Summer Yearling Female Division Championship. In the ring next with our judge, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. Back over on the Charolais Junior Heifer Show as we get that kicked off. It'll be our first division, Junior Heifer Calf Division. Our first class is a single entry, 728A. This one born May 15, 2019. Our judge is Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa.
Well, just a single entry on the Charolais side to start off this purebred show, and what a really nice May heifer here that stands alone in this particular group, but I think she could definitely get around some. That's a heifer that's super fresh and the right kind of shape and condition for her maturity. I like the stoutness she brings, and yet I still think she's very, very good in terms of her structure. So we'll bring her back out here momentarily, but congratulations on an outstanding female there to win this class.
Up next on the Charolais side will be Class 728B heifer calves. For the Junior Heifer Calf Division, 728B. These born April 1st through April 24, 2019. Result on
You know, as we get out here, and you know, this class is a division within the main end juice show here, and we got him out here, and I walked him again, and to be totally honest with you, I walked him again just to appreciate how much quality is in these three heifers. Pretty well had my mind made up in terms of how I wanted to place them, but you just want to appreciate quality. You want to appreciate what it takes to get big heifers to look this good at this level. It's fun to evaluate, and I want to just make sure to take in the moment to be out here and appreciate this kind of quality. The heifer that wins the class, she hits me really hard. I think she does some things that I like really well. She's very fresh. She's very feminine. She's got plenty of rib shape, good in terms of her swoop. She's very proportionate. She's very well balanced. Just a lot of good things you could say about her. I think that's a high quality heifer, presented really well. One I think it just fun to look at, and I think is a high quality female. There's no doubt that the heifer here in second has got more power, more mass, more center body. She's got more to her, but to me, just not quite as fresh up there in her front end, maybe not quite as long in terms of her neck. And just nitpicking just a little bit as you get them out here, she gets pushing her front shoulder just a little bit on the move. It gets a little up at her top. Now, in saying that and picking on her a little bit, but you've won that good, I've got to give you some reasons why I've got her in second. That is one high quality, still a very, very attractive, well-presented, big-bodied female that's got a lot of good to her and a lot of future potential as a cow there. I think she's just got a lot of good to her. Told the young man that's as nice a heifer as you could put in third place. Very complete, well presented, got a lot of good to her. Not maybe quite as much rib and dimension of the two right ahead of her, but I don't want to take anything away from that third place heifer. That is a very high quality individual that really came out here and represented it really well.
Up next for the main NSU will be our first class of two, 805, and the yearling female, junior yearling female. Class 805 coming in the ring next. Spring yearling females, March through April 2018. Here's the result on Class 804 and your summer yearling female division championship. First place and champion, 12-12. BMWC exactly 512 FET, Austin Hunker, Bellevue, Ohio. Second and reserve, 12-14. That is C's Miss Rosa Marie, 87F, Avery C's from Coal Valley, Illinois. Third, 12-15. BBR Fallon, 888 FET, Dalton Carlson, Julesburg, Colorado. Program placings for that Class 804 and the division. Scratch, 1 in champion, 2 in reserve, 3. Once again in the ring next with our judge, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. This will be 2 entries for Class 805, our first class of 2 within the junior yearling female division.
Really, again, nice pair of heifers you could look and talk about, and I think you could talk about the tremendous good in both of them. But I think as you go through then, as you line them up in terms of a placing, I think the young lady's heifer, I think, just does so. Just she's extremely high quality. She's got a great look to her. She's got some power and dimension. She's got some rib shape, but to me, she's still fresh in terms of her condition. Great in terms of presentation. Just a beautiful. Single entry here in the main and juice show, big February heifers. One I think still handling some competition. One that's got tremendous amount of quality to her. You really like the look she gives you from the side. I love her length and extension to her front end. She too, as we talked about, them ones right in front of a class, that she's still fresh in terms of condition for this size and maturity. I love her natural swoop to her rib shape. Where she's at. As we put her in motion, we'll see as we come back out here within our division, we'd maybe like to free her up and have her move just a little bit more comfortable as she gets around the ring. But no doubt that's a high quality female. It's got a great look to us and prevents us pretty good look here. So really commend her, a really nice single entry.
Well, as we get into this April group, obviously we've got a tremendous amount of numbers, and it took me just a second to kind of sort through it just a little bit. But in a junior show, I think you kids have done a great job, and I know how hard it is to get these calves to Denver, and they're feeling good, and it's hard to get a look. So I think it's a really good class here, and I think there's a trio that hit me pretty hard, and they're all just a little different as far as what they bring to the table. And this heifer that leads off this particular group, for me, I think combines all those things. And I like just her maturity-wise better than the heifer in second. This one's unique in some ways to be that long and extended up front and yet come back with some natural turn and some shape to her center body, I think is very, very good. She's agile in her feet and legs and can get out and reach and grab the ground with some flex and some athleticism. A young man gets her propped up like that, and I think that's a heifer that's pretty intriguing in a lot of different ways. I think for me it's maybe close between 2 and 3, and I think you could see that these two standing side by side are maybe different molds, and especially for maturity-wise. I'll tell you I'll be the first one to tell you, this heifer that's in second, I'd like to just stretch her out just a little bit. She's just a nickel short there in her cannon for me, but I think for a heifer that has that kind of body mass and that kind of dimension, and the way she gets out and handles it with some tremendous range of motion and flexibility is really, really hard to do. So that's why she's at the top end of this class. Comparatively, the one in front of her, maybe a little shorter neck, a little thicker there, and a little bit open there at the point of her shoulder, but it fits her very well. I think that's a really good heifer there in second. The 1 and 3, I think, is as interesting as any of them, and she's maybe not there yet, but young lady, I tell you to keep working with this heifer, because I think where she sets her feet down, her length of body, her freshness, and just the look that she gives you, I think is very, very impressive. She's one that, of those first three gets a little overwhelmed, but from a quality sense, I think that heifer's dead level in her line. She's got foot, she's got bone. She's really good in terms of the way she proportions. She just needs to fill out, and she gets maybe a little overwhelmed in those top three, but I see a lot of potential in that heifer in third. A really bold, stout one that comes next. Compared to the top ones in front of her, she needs set back in her shoulder. She needs to be a little more angular there, and just how she's built through her shoulder and knee, a little more angular there in her hock as well. But this one's really stout. When he gets her propped and set up there at the stand, I think you've got to really find some things you like about her. A moderate, sensible-sized one that comes next. It's super soft and easy doing. Got a nice hind leg. For me, it's up front. She'll want to twist and splay out just a little bit. Maybe just isn't quite as neat in how she's presented up through her head and through her neck, but good kind of brood cow prospect there in 6. This heifer that comes next, again, has some rib shape. Don't think her bone matches it. A little rounder in the way that she's constructed. Long-bodied heifer that comes next that got a little extra navel, a little plainer look, but I like her structure and I like her length of stride. This heifer that comes next, we need to change her just in terms of her angulation, but she's bold, she's got some dimension. Same with this heifer coming next, but just doesn't have the same kind of performance and weight per day of age. One of the longer bodied heifers that this young man's got that we just need to change her structurally, make her a little cowier and her look to move up in this group. But an excellent class. I think 3 or 4 really nice females at the top end.
As we get over here in the Main Juice Show, we get into the big division of heifers as we've come out here, and we've got it reverse order in terms of how we come out here as we talk about, and I'll talk about the young ladies heifer first, or we could talk about the pair. And I know maybe not a lot of numbers, and I know it's challenging to bring big heifers out here and to keep them fresh, and both these exhibitors have brought them out here to be very fresh, very good in terms of their presentation and look, and we like that about them. Young ladies heifer came out of that first class, would be in second in your lineup out here. High quality female, I mean tremendous amount of good. I love her center body, I love her smoothness to her shoulder, I love the way she bounces up. A lot of things about her. When she relaxes, when she fights the ring a little bit, she maybe just gets a little bit, maybe not quite as comfortable in terms of her hind leg placement as I'd like to see, but she's great in terms of her angle. She's still one that I think is good in terms of structure. She's just one I like in terms of body and kind really well. The single entry in the next class, the young lady in the first spot, there's no doubt when you get this heifer from the side, you love her length of body, her length of front, her extension. She's got some attributes that are sure nice to see, you like, and appreciate. Again, as we put her in motion, maybe just not quite as soft, just in terms of the way she gets her around the ring, but a good set of females. And the second within that other class, a real good cowie female that deserves a lot of positives. Maybe not quite as stout at the ground, but yet one that's bold in terms of her rib and looks like she's going to go out and make a cow and do a great job like you'd expect to be from Main and Jew breed. So give these exhibitors a nice round of applause. I'll go ahead and acknowledge your champion in this division.
Champion Junior League female on the Main As You side comes out of class 805. That's 1218 BKMT Fair and Square 807 FET Peyton Farmer, Brownstown, Indiana. It'll move 1216 Consideration Reserve. And your reserve comes out of class 806. That's 1222 CMCC Filthy Rich 802 ET Whitney Walker, Prairie Grove, Arkansas. Up next, to bring back all the division champ reserves on the Main As You side. This will be the grand champion junior Main As You female selection with our judge, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. Back over on the Charolais side. In the ring at this time is class 728C heifer calves born March 1st through 21st, 2019. Here's the results on that last class, 728B. First place, 474. Giselle Kelton Arthur, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Second, 467. Martina Ty William Goss, Leedy, Oklahoma. In third, 477, J&J Angelina. Charlie Johnson, Orlando, Oklahoma. Fourth, 473, Gabby Caden Brian Bradshaw, Fruita, Colorado. Fifth, 478, Jackie Kate Utech, Hubbard, Nebraska. Sixth, 476, Pixie Proof, Madeline Rohr, Elbert, Colorado. Seventh, 475, Venus Autumn Dietrich, Muleshoe, Texas. 8th, 465, Carrie Outsider. Gentry Matthew, Lahana, Colorado. 9th, 469, Gabby. Austin George, Mondovi, Wisconsin. 10th, 470, Gypsy. Lincoln Dean Martin, Buckland, Kansas. Program placings for Class 728B heifer calves on the Charolais side are as follows: 8, 2, 9, 10, 4, 1. Top of the next page, 7, 6, 3, 5. With our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa, is Class 728C on the Charolais side. Charolais heifer calves born March 1st through the 21st, 2019. And on the other side, once again, this is a Grand Champion Junior Maine as you female selection. Our champ reserves from each division in the ring. We'd like to thank the American Junior Maine as you Association members who are helping us. We got the AGMAA Queen, Madison Beatty, sophomore in high school from Central Nebraska, and showing Maine cattle since she was 8. She loves the breed. She's honored to serve as your 2019-20 AJMAA Queen. Princess is J.C. Wolfinger, freshman in high school in Nebraska. She enjoys showing Maine cattle and working with people within the breed. Enjoyed serving as the Princess this year. Our AGMAA president is Dalton Line from Illinois. Vice President Caleb Miller of Iowa. Secretary-Treasurer Adelaide Ebersol from Iowa. At-large Director Cassidy Barker, Missouri. At-large Director Kate Austin, Wisconsin. And we'd also like to thank Emma Yoakum, 7th grader from Hillsboro, Ohio. She's been showing Maine cattle since she was 5 years old. She's enjoyed her year promoting the Maine breed as a 2019-20 Maine As You Princess. Thank you to everyone helping us in the ring today on the Maine As You side. Our judge for this Grand Champion selection, once again, Chad Holtkamp from West Point, Iowa. Graduate of Blackhawk East from Kewanee, Illinois, and Oklahoma State University out of Stillwater. He grew up on a diversified Iowa farm, raising cattle, hogs, corn, and soybeans. He also ran a seed business, too. Currently owns and operates Holt Camp Cattle Company, cattle producer in southeast Iowa. They have multiple breeds that they market through sales and private treaty sales as well. Our judge for this Grand Champion Maine As You female heifer selection is Chad Holtkamp, West Point, Iowa.
As we go through, and I know we have more Maine and Jew cattle to go through here today, but I start off, and I can't be more pleased, to look and evaluate this kind of quality of cattle. I know when I was given the opportunity to come here, I was very amped up and extremely excited to come and share. And we produce Maine and Jew cattle, and always been very fond of what they could do. They're a very versatile breed. Going to bring us some power, give us a really good maternal look, give us a show ring. Eye appeal, and in some of them attributes you tie into and fits pretty strong in terms of our operation. So I think as you go through, and we can talk about them just a little bit, it's really a nice group. The heifer come out of that first division, and that division was really good. If you was here, there were several classes, a lot of depth to them. She was the outer liar in terms of that awesome look to her. You could see her standing there, long-fronted, beautiful in terms of her side profile. I love the maternal rib she has, and yet still a very fresh package. I think the future is bright for her as you go out there, because I think she is one that definitely in contention as you look and talk about for that kind of quality. Maybe gives up some maturity, but there's no way that she gives up any kind of quality. Young ladies heifer come out of that second division, the fall heifers. Beautiful in terms of pattern, as we talked about. Very maternal. I like how flat-shouldered she is. Got her rib shape. Tremendous amount of good to her. If we change her just a little bit, we talked about maybe soften her hind leg just a little bit, but that's a quality female. Got a lot of good to her. We like. We had a really tough division at Mays, the May heifer, and I think one that just tremendous amount of good to her. I think she's got quality. She fits some of those pieces that you like extremely well that I can tie into. It is something you're going to expect to see in terms of on the hill elite kind of cattle you sure like to look at. Same as the heifer right behind her. She is one of those that has that elite kind of look to her. Love her center body. Love her extra power, and yet that kind of power and dimension, she's still smooth in terms of the way she's put together. like I talked about her in division, she's really good in terms of her angles. Just change her just a little bit as you get right behind her and watch her go. But that's a high quality female that definitely in contention as you look and talk about. So again, it's been my pleasure. I know we got more to go through. I've been thrilled to do this division. Quality cattle. Give them a nice round of applause, and I'll go ahead and take one more look, and we'll give our champion reserve of this division.
Grand champion junior main as you female comes from the summer yearling female division. That's 1212 BMWC exactly 512 FET Austin Hunker, Bellevue, Ohio. That'll move 1214 into consideration for reserve. Reserve Grand Champion Junior Main as you female comes to the same class, same class and division. Summer yearling female division as your champion. Grand Champion and Reserve Grand Champion, same class division. 1214 is Reserve Avery Seas from Coal Valley, Illinois, with Seas Miss Rosa Maria 87F. Be a picture break, I think, but then we roll to our next judge and the open main as you females.
Over here on the Charolais side, another really big class and no shortage of quality whatsoever. And this class runs about 9 deep, and I sincerely mean that. I guess when I say that, I still think this heifer that wins, for me personally, surfaces relatively quickly. And again, she's the one that ties together to some real foot size and body shape and the right kind of freshness and just a nice presence to her there from the side. So in a good class, to me, she's very dominant in this particular group. So we'll break her down a little further when we get her back into our division. I think you can probably argue a few different things, and we're at a crossroads, if you will, for second. This effort, to me, she maybe isn't the biggest one out here, but I like where she's at as far as her structure. I think her foot is good, and I think the way she goes and operates her lower joint work is very, very good. She's proportional. She's got enough body, enough extension up front. Like we said, maybe not the extras that you see in our winner, but I think this one has a neater look and has a neater things about her than this heifer that ends up in 3. I like the function of this heifer. She's a big performance-oriented one that is really good at the ground in terms of her angles and her length of stride. Looks like a brood cow, just a little plainer. She's got a little extra navel, maybe not as neat up front, but boy, that one I think represents a lot of fundamental qualities, and that's why she's at the top end of this class for me. A really neat one at the standstill. I think this next pair is pretty close. This heifer is a little bit more of an upgrade up front in terms of the slope to her shoulder, but to me she's a little tight and a little restricted behind to move up in this class. I like the body shape and the look up front of this calf that comes next. I made a call and just said she's not sound enough. She needs to be changed through her shoulder. She'll paddle up front just a little bit, and we need to have that heifer just have a little more athletic step behind. A really fresh, feminine, nice structured heifer coming next. I like her smoothness. Just gets a little outpowered in this particular class. Maybe her refinement just translates to a flatter and narrower kind, but I think that one with time and maturity, she's got the right kind of foot and the right kind of angulation to move up in this class. A bolder, stouter heifer that comes next. She's one that just looks a little awkward. I'd like to change the shape of her head and make her a little more feminine. We got a pair of heifers that round out that maybe just aren't assembled quite as neatly. We could tie them together and get those pieces that blend a little bit nicer, but they're still good cattle that have some substance and have some foot and some bone to them. These young ladies have done a good job as well. That's a great class, top to bottom. length of body. And again, like we said earlier, I really enjoy that all these heifers are fundamentally good in terms of their foot and their structure. This gets a little overpowered as far as just her foot and her features compared to this heifer in front of her, but that is a fresh made one that's good structured. Young lady's got an awesome project there in our second spot. I like your heifer in third. That's a fundamental brood cow. There's nothing wrong with a good-footed, soft-bodied, easy-fleshing one. The problem with her is you set her up next to these two in front of her. She's the plainest in terms of her look and her body shape, but a really, really outstanding trio of heifers. Again, congratulations to all those exhibitors.
Over on the Charolais side, here's the results on Class 728D. First place, 497, boy, Triple M Montella, Addison Albers, Wisner, Nebraska. Second place, 493, Gala, Taylor Goring, McPherson, Kansas. In third, 496, Genoa, Gentry, Matthew, La Junta, Colorado. Up next, our final class before we get to the Junior Heifer Calf Division Championship. It'll be a single entry for Class 728E. Heifer calves, this one born January 15th, 2019. Our judge, once again, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa.
Well, just one single. I like this heifer's performance and length of body. She's one that hits me initially as one that has some smoothness and some strength and some collection to her spine. Nice heifer here. We'll break her down a little further in this division, but congratulations on your class winner.
Here's the result on Class 728E heifer calves on the Charolais side. First Fourth, Ashley Miller, Arlington, Illinois. That's 4484. Gina. And in fifth, 4475, Peyton Ballman, Quinter, Kansas, also with Gina. Just different tag numbers. Up next, Class 112 Junior Heifer Calves, born March or later. March or later, Class 112, in the ring with our judge, Jim Bloomberg from Berwick, Illinois. Once again, on the Charolais side in the ring, and this is your Junior Heifer Calf Division Championship with our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. The result on that 728E was first place 499. Lily Tricia Dideball from Newcastle, Nebraska, just in case I forgot to mention that.
Love the extra length that she has, and with that extra length, still has enough capacity to go along with that extra dimension that she exhibits. 3 heifers coming in now, maybe just a little more behind on production here today, and kind of makes them not quite as competitive. Love the design, young man, of that heifer. Really like her down her top and the strength of lines, like how she gets her along and moves. Really nice footed, one that's really nice up through her front end. Just needs to have just a little more power to her to compete. Next heifer, I'm one that's really probably has just a little more shape. Get right behind her, probably like her hip a little better. She struggles a little bit out of her hip with that extra muscle shape, gets a little rounder and coarser up through her front 1/3, and that's why she's going to be down a little bit. Real feminine, really youthful appearing heifer coming next, one that gets a little smaller footed, and once again, I'm going to probably get redundant all day long about pulling these cattle apart as they come and go, and that's probably the problem in that one. Nice class, really a good pair, be up in that top end.
Well, I apologize for taking a little extra time in this division, but folks, I hope you guys ringside realize what is in front of you. I know we've got a couple single entries in here, but from top to bottom, these 5 in their respective seconds, I think are incredible cattle. And there's a couple different directions you could go, and most of you probably realize here, and I don't mean to take away from anybody, but I'm probably the person you want to play poker against, because I apologize, I might have showed my hand a little bit here and maybe the direction that I'm thinking, but the heifer that wins our first class, I like a lot of parts of her. To have that kind of natural stoutness in terms of foot, body shape, and hip, and yet be able to get out and handle it with some tremendous athleticism and function built in her lower joints, I think is very, very impressive. It's hard to do, and you've presented her very well. She's got some size, but she's fresh in terms of her condition. Compared to some of the other ones, maybe just isn't quite as unique as far as just the shape of her head and the top of her neck, but again, like we said, from a brood cow sense, that one has got tremendous brood cow potential written all over. I think we get into our second class winner, and we get probably on a little different kind of mold here. She's a little tough to describe because this heifer is super unique, and she does a lot of things that are a little unorthodox. And, you know, she's one that you read her up front, and just the refinement of her head and just the length and extension and ladylike feature she's got up front. You'd think that she's, you know, maybe a flatter, narrower one, but you step right in behind the cattle, and that one opens up really bold in her upper skeleton, comes back into, I think, a really powerful kind of pin set. If I could just change her, and folks, I'm being awfully critical. I hate to do this when they're this good. You could give her a bigger foot, and you could maybe just organize her top line just a little bit more seamlessly, because she'll come apart just a little bit there the longer she's at the stand. But you ask them to get out and circle, and that heifer comes right back together. So for me, I think that there's maybe it's just one that gets a little easy in her spine at the stand. You can maybe start to look past just a little bit. You get into our third class winner, and this is one that is just stout and rugged. That is a big foot and a big kind of hind leg built into underneath of her. At the stand, you maybe like just the strength and the collection she has to her top line. I don't think she's any sounder. I think they're both plenty good in that regard. She's good enough fronted, and I don't know if she's just a freak as maybe the one in front of her, but I think the way to describe this heifer for me is everything fits very, very well. She's the right size. She's got enough body and power. She's got a real dense kind of forearm. Really a good kind of heifer there. Maybe not pushing the edge, but I think a really fundamentally good heifer that puts a lot of excellent things together. The young lady's heifer that won Class 4 is one that you like in terms of her body shape and just the substance and the squareness she reads with at the ground. Get her back out here, and she's maybe one that's packing just a little extra condition and a more moderate kind of package, but like I said, I hate to be critical. That's a good heifer there that represents this division very, very well. Our last class winner is a long-bodied, really extended one that's good in terms of her angles. You could give her a different shape to her foot, and you can bust her open to match her size just a little better. But again, a good kind of heifer that I think has some tremendous donor or some quality cow potential down the road. So I think it's really fun when they're this good in this division. It just gives you as a judge the opportunity to use the one that hits you the hardest. So I'll do that here in just a second. But if you would help me congratulate these kids, give them a nice round of applause. We'll get you champion in division out of this division.
Champion junior heifer calf is $490. That is Belle Elvira, $399 ET, Ruby Grace Bell, Bristow, Oklahoma. That'll move $485 into consideration for reserve. And the reserve is $474, BSCC Miss Giselle, 221G, Kelton Arthur, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Up next is we have an addition. Up next is Class 729A Senior Heifer Calves on the Charolais. 2 entries. The ride-in is $458. $458. And Maggie Lucas Leafers from Edgerton, Missouri. 5th, 4487. Gabby Jones Cattle Company, Chapin, Illinois. 6th, 4488. Mitchell Jackson Merritt, Carthage, Illinois. Program placings for Class 112 are as follows: 2, 3, 5, 6, 4, 1, scratch.
We got a nice pair of heifers here, a little different as far as their mold that they're built from, but the heifer that's going to end up leading off this class for me just does so at the ground. I like just the angulation and the shape of her feet, and when you ask the cattle to get out and go, I think she's just a little looser there in her spine. You get her stopped and put together, give you a plenty good enough look. She's got enough cow power. It's a nice functional heifer here to lead off this particular group. This heifer that ends up in second, I think, does kind of push the edge a little bit more as far as just some extra stoutness and still putting together a really neat look up front. But I guess you make yourself a call. I didn't say her structure was good enough to let her win this class. She's a little upright there in her shoulder, hind legs a little bit tight, and if we could change that about her, set her spine and her tail head in there a little differently when she gets out and goes, we could switch that pair. But a good set of females in this class. Again, congratulations.
Another good class in this main end Jew calf division, and pretty interesting and give and take, but just get to the basics and use a female where you just checks all the boxes and stuff, things that I've been talking about. And I think first and foremost, she's the biggest footed, soundest moving one of the group. I mean, this one here is really good footed, comes at you, maybe gets out just a little bit, but that kind of translates into making her just a little nicer off her front 1-2 and her angles up there and how comfortable she is. She's got plenty to her. You get on top of her, got plenty to her. Extra long-bodied. I think one that's just put together very, very nicely. And I think within this class is just her structure and her mobility. You probably like to pull her apart, give her a little more true width, but you got to like her design, you got to like her length of body and her strength of lines. A nice kind of a heifer if you just body her down. Two heifers coming next, I think have some quality. Just once again, structurally needs to be changed a little bit, and maybe this one in behind, a little tighter flank just doesn't balance up quite as nicely. Good top end also in that class.
Go back over on the Charolais side. Here's the results on that last class, 729A senior heifer calves. First place was 501, Miss 4M Majestic State, McKenna Mitchell, Justin, Texas. The right end was second. That's 458, Gunsmoke, Caitlin Brown, Canyon, Texas. In the ring at this time is class 729B senior heifer calves, born September 3rd through October 17th, 2018. After this class level, Senior Heifer Calf Division Championship with our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. Back over on the Main As You, the Open Main As You female show with our judge, Jim Bloomberg of Berwick, Illinois. In the ring next to be first and seconds with the Junior Heifer Calf Division Championship. Go back to class 113. Here's the results. First place, 44.94. Go, go, girl. Hunter Morton, Stratford, Oklahoma. Second, 44.92. Drit Gigi. Shea Stone, Eaton, Colorado. Third, 45.05, Girl Talk, Kay Moonen, Stillwater, On the Charolais side, here's results on Class 729B Senior Heifer Calves. First place 504, J&J Angelina 823, Sydney Johnson, Orlando, Oklahoma. Second 508, Miss Mora, Georgia Cozy Torto. I'll get that right. Hillmore, California. Third 509, DR Lisa. Shayla Dismukes, Chicota, Oklahoma. Fourth 511, Lisa Carlin Dismukes, Chicota, Oklahoma. Fifth 506, Skyla Sage Ward, Laramie, Wyoming. Sixth 507, Miss Penny Holt Chambers, Henrietta, Texas. Program placings for 729B are as follows: 1, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4. In the ring, first and seconds, this will be your Senior Heifer Calf Division Championship with Dr. Chris Cassidy of Ankeny, Iowa. Peyton Farmer, Brownstown, Indiana. Reserve comes out of class 112, 4491, Getting Real. Madison K. Lotchke from Kingsdown, Kansas. Up next, we move to our first class, and the only class within the second division. This will be class 114 Junior Heifer Calves and a division championship. He's born January through February 2019. Back over on the Charolais side, single entry will be in the ring next for intermediate heifer, class 730 summer yearling heifer. Here's a result going back to that Senior Heifer Calf Division Championship. The champion is out of class 729B, that's 504, J&J Angelina 823, Sydney Johnson, Orlando, Oklahoma. The reserve came out of the same class as your champion, that is 508, Miss Mora, RFSC Miss Mora 8221 ET, Georgia Cosatorto from Hillmar, California.
Well, we've got just a single entry here in our late intermediate division class, but heifer that's got some pretty cool parts. This is one that I think's got some performance and some length of body, and for her growth, I think she's pretty on target as far as her breeding condition and her freshness. Can get out and go as well. Nice heifer here. We'll get that blue ribbon and we'll bring her back out for division. But congratulations on your class winner in this particular class.
On the Charolais side, intermediate heifer division, class 730A, first place 512, TC Lady Snow, Tara Tillefson from Warden, Washington. Up next, 730B, summer yearling heifers, born both May 3rds. So 2 entries coming in for the intermediate division, our second and final class in the division, class 730B, summer yearling heifers.
Just one May heifer in this class, again, single entry. A really nice brood cow prospect, good-footed and soft and maternal in her look. You get her stopped and propped up like that, I think she proportions very well. Just a really good single entry. We'll bring those 2 back out here and break them down a little bit further in our division, but congratulations to this young lady on our class winner.
Class 730B results, summer yearling heifers on the Charolais side. First place 515, DCC Lever Girl 1809, Madeline Roar, Elbert, Colorado. The scratch was 456. Both the first place animals from 730A and 730B will be in the ring. This is your intermediate heifer division championship with our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa.
Well, as these 2 young ladies bring these heifers back around here, again, we'll just keep the show moving. There's not a lot of numbers in this intermediate division. Quality's very good. I guess I understand that, this time of the world isn't the most conducive to calving, so we're going to have a few numbers here and maybe a little divergence in what our genetic packages might be, but 2 good females. This is a heifer up front that, again, I like both of them from a structure sense. Really a big-footed kind of a female that's got some length and some extension to her. We can maybe refine her head and soften her body type up just a little bit, but young lady's done a really, really nice job, and that heifer's presented very, very well. We come into our May class winner, and one that just has a brood cow look about her, really, really soft and really maternal, like the one in front of her. He's just really angular as far as her structure and the way that she gets out and reaches off both ends. Maybe you could scale her back just a hair in terms of her condition and maybe pry that chest out of her just a little bit. But her head is maternal, her body's maternal, just a really good brood cow in the making there in our second position. So congratulations to both of these exhibitors. I'm going to use the lady out of the second class to be our champion. Young lady up front will be our reserve. Give them a nice round of applause.
Intermediate heifer division champion for the Charolais. Your champion comes out of class 730B, that's 515, DCC Lever Girl 1809, Madeline Rohr, Elbert, Colorado. The reserve comes from class 730A, 512, TC Lady Snow F99, TC Lady Snow F99, Tara Tellefson from Warden, Washington. Up next, 2 entries coming in the ring for class 731A junior yearling heifers. We have 3 classes in this division, then a division championship, and then the grand champion selection for the Charolais. But in the ring next, 2 entries from 731A junior yearling heifers born April 1st and April 13th, 2018.
Well, we've got just one heifer in this class, but I actually told the young lady must have scared a few of them away, because this is a pretty nice female. And to me, when you prop her up and that first impression that you get is, this one epitomizes balance and look. And for a heifer that's that far along in calf, the young lady tells me she's bred up 2 months early. To have that kind of athleticism and that kind of function in your framework and keep all of your lines together and have the right kind of power that lays smooth and maternal and really attractively on her skeleton, I think is very, very good. This is a nice single entry here. We look forward to seeing her back out in our division. Congratulations.
Good deep class here in the main Anjou side, but boy, there's lots of differences all the way down the line, and it just came to where they picked the one that's, well, like we kind of talked about in that earlier division. This will be a division and a reserve here, but here's the most complete one, the one that has the most balance, the one that's just super sound on the move, long-bodied, good line, love her top shape and how her skeleton is down her top. She's got some hip shape. And she looks like a lady. She looks like a cow. Looks like next year as a yearling, she's just going to be a real productive kind of a unit. And I think that heifer came to the top pretty handily. I think the one in second kind of follows the suit as far as the least things you really want to change about her. Probably a little softer sided than the one that won the class, and she gives you that appearance because she is a little shorter bodied. But still, love her when you get right behind her and the expansion she has from her hip forward and that upper rib design. One that gets out, good enough, and she maybe does want to get outside her skeleton a little bit when you get right behind her, but I think she's got enough flex, and she's more like the heifer I used to go ahead and be second. The odd man out to this big old stout girl here in third. Wonderfully presented, here's one that just gives you a lot of good things. Extra long, got some hip, is really smooth in her shoulder. To me, she's the upper end of scale for me. We talked that earlier May division, and in fact, that last division, I used one that was a little bigger than what I liked. You just want to know, cattle like this in the real world, a guy can afford to feed these kind when they going to have a little more extra frame. I'd like to moderate a little bit, and it's just my personal opinion. That's a really good heifer, but, that's why she's going to be third today. I just like to change her in her frame score here today. One in fourth, another good one. Has some pieces that you really like. heaviest muscled one of the class. I think with that extra muscle, she does get a little rounder out through her hip, gets a little bolder up through her shoulder, but still got some body and some middle body capacity, good enough on her feet and legs. It's just not the muscle type that I prefer. Young lady's heifer, you know, I kind of wanted to get you up a little ways. The young lady did a nice job of getting this one stuck for me. A good solid heifer, soft middled, good hip, you know, cowy fronted, gets a little bit more pinch right behind her shoulders, probably comes at you, not quite as wide as some of them ones up above. The one next, excuse me, certainly is wider made and softer sided. Has trouble getting around the ring. One that's just a little more tiptoed than our heifer bottoming in the class, just not enough to her to compete.
Try to catch up in results here real quick. Let's start on the Charolais side. 731A, first place 518. CCBS Call Me Maybe. That is Jenna Talak from Pearl, Iowa. In the ring, this is class 731B. We have 3 entries. The scratch is 523. The add-on is 521. Back over the main as you open show. Here's the results on class 114. Try to roll through these quickly. First place and champion for the junior heifer calf for Division II is 45-13 Goosebumps. Devin Morton, Stratford, Oklahoma. Second in reserve was 45-14. That is Miss Epic, Moore Cattle Company, Medill, Oklahoma. Third, 45-11 Goal Getter, Whitney Walker, Prairie Grove, Arkansas. Fourth was a ride-in your program, 45-42 Calypso Maid, Madison Wishke from Kingsdown, Kansas. That was fourth. Fifth is 4507 Good Times, Merritt, Altus, Oklahoma. Sixth, 4512 Girl Power, Kinley Daly, Kingston, Oklahoma. Seventh, 4509 Miss Jessie Jane, Carter Strain, Johnstown, Colorado. Up next will be our Class 115 single entry winner heifer calf.
Got a single entry in this class starting our fall division. Certainly one, you know, when you compare to some of our other class winners and division winners, I think looks a lot like them. I mean, this one here is, you love her, first of all, love, you know, her condition. I think this one's just right in her condition. She's not a great big heifer, but she's not a little one. Got the extra length, you know, and one that really a cow-looking female up through her front end. Love the angle of her shoulders, loves the extension up front. Her head and neck just looks like a lady and really nice-footed. Young lady, you'll be very competitive coming back, I'm sure. Congratulations.
Well, another really good pair of big breds on this side, and a little different mold, and maybe the second time they spun, it kind of reaffirmed what I first thought. And so kind of going back to my first impression here, this is an awesome brood cow that leads off this group. That one's body shape and her dimension, her upper rib power, and the stoutness she has to her hip is pretty unrivaled. And when she has that advantage and yet can still get out and take a longer and more athletic step, I think it makes sense to go ahead and start with her. I like just the development of her udder and the brood cow look that she gives you. If we could change her, she's maybe not just the sweetest thing to look at as far as her shoulder, and she'll stand just a little straight, but she actually moves just fine. So, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. That's an awesome brood cow, and she wins on that fact alone. This heifer here in second probably is a little neater at the point of her shoulder and sets down on maybe a little larger foot than the one that precedes her in this class, but she does so by being a flatter version. You step right behind her and watch her go away, not the same kind of dimension, and when she's in motion, she'll duck her pins and she'll be a little awkward there in her shoulder and hind legs, so that's why she ends up in second. But a good pair of heifers nonetheless. Congratulations to both of those exhibitors.
Catch up on results here. Class 731B, Charolais Junior Yearling Heifers. First place is a right-in, 521. That's Sister Bevan. Looks like Taylor Goring, McPherson, Kansas. Second, 522, Gemma, Katie Utek, Hubbard, Nebraska. Scratch on 523, scratch on 524. Up next, Class 731C, Junior Yearling Heifers, born January 15th through February 21st, 2018. This is our last class in front of our Junior Heifer Division Championship and then the Grand Champion selection for the Charolais. Over on the main Angie Open show, Class 115 winner heifer calves. First place 45-17, Frizzle Frazzle. Sammy Strag, Marion, South Dakota. In the ring at this time is Class 116 senior heifer calves. Born September, October 2018. Going back to that Class 114 your program placings, 5, 7, 3, 6. 1 in champion, 2 in reserve, and then the right end of 4 for 45-42. And that was Madison Loschke. Kingsdown, Kansas got 4th. That's the right end, 45-42. On the main Anjou side, after this Class 116, we'll have our Senior Heifer Calf Division Championship. First and second will be back in the ring from Class 115 and this Class 116.
Another trio of nice fall main Anjou females in here. And once again, 3 different types, and just depends on what suits you. But I think, once again, the most complete one, you know, the softest sided, the softest walking one, the one that looks really like a lady, and how she's developed up through her front 1/3, kind of wins this class pretty handily. I mean, this one here just gives you a good look from the side. Really easy keeping in her body build. You know, she's got some width down her top. She's got some pelvic dimension. I just love the way she looks, and that cow look she gives you on that side view profile. I think a really good female. Gets a little closer between the next 2. And I've criticized some for being too big, and I'm going to kind of get on this one. I mean, this is a big girl for an October female, you know. You kind of got to afford that many. If you had a herd of them, probably not. But when you compare the next 2, she's the most feminine. She's still got some cow look to her. You know, you like her a little better than our 3rd place heifer up in her front 1/3. A lot to this heifer, a lot of extra length, a lot of pounds, a lot of performance. You know, she's still sound enough, just the upper end of the scale for me, you know, to get her up above that good heifer that won the class. Young man's heifer in 3rd, you know, here's the stout one. You know, here's a big hip, heavy muscled female. You know, I haven't talked any numbers. She's a little higher in birth weight, but then when you gaze down and see that extra that she has in her weaning and yearling, it kind of shows you, you know, that's kind of what the heifer is. A little coarser shouldered, a little rounder hip for me. Probably just doesn't have the cow look and the femininity that I see in the other 2. Depends on where you set your sights and where you set your goals. I mean, there's some breeding possibilities in these females like this. You have to make up your own mind. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Well, we've only got 2 heifers again, 2 very different kinds that are represented in front of me out here. I'm going to use the heifer that gives up a little bit of size, but she's moderate, and that's okay with me because she's a moderate good one. And where she beats this heifer in 2nd is just in terms of angulation. I think specifically up front, the slope and the way this heifer's wedged into her shoulder, I think, is more appropriate. Beautiful hip and hind leg structure. You presented that heifer very, very well because she's fresh. She's one that can get out and reach and have that female quality look to her, good in her lines as well. You know, I appreciate the honesty of both these youngsters out here. You know, I do wish this heifer was maybe pushing just a little bit more gestation there for her age, but I think that she, as far as just quality, and I think that's the place to lead off with in this group. I talked to this young man here in second, and if you need something that can bring you some power and some pounds and some real performance, this one has some tremendous breeding opportunities. That's an interesting big animal that's got all the stoutness and all the power you'd ever want. For me personally, she's a little bit much. And because of just the shape of her head and the way her shoulder's designed, I'd like to change that and tone her back and give her more slope there to her knee and allow that heifer to reach up front with a little more athleticism. But a big, stout power cow that I think will be fun as a potential donor down the road. Again, congratulations, nice pair of heifers there.
Catch you up on results here. On the Charolais side for Class 731C, junior yearling heifer, scratch was 526. First place 527. TR Miss Fame, 8712 FET. Josie Schrader, Wells, Kansas. Second place 529. DCC Miss 1801. McGuire. We'll have our grand champion Charolais heifer selection. Our judge once again, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. Back over on the main Anjou Open show. Class 116, first place 45-19, Fresh Chains, Chancey Clark, Muldrow, Oklahoma. Second place 45-21, Figure It Out, Annie Herr, Fontenelle, Iowa. And third 45-18, LA, Jackson Carlson, Julesburg, Colorado. In the ring at this time, this is your Senior Heifer Calf Division Championship. First and seconds back in there from 115 and 116. Our judge on that side, Jim Bloomberg from Berwick, Illinois.
Not a big fall division, but I think quality is extremely good. I think these two class winners, a lot alike in their type and kind, and I really like both of them quite a little bit. You know, they're good-footed. You really like the foot size. You like how they get around the ring. And first and foremost, they look like cows. You know, you can kind of envision these next year's big breds, and, you know, just really looking so much better. And I think both these heifers, when they get, and hopefully they're bred now, you know, next year when they get to calve, and, you know, they're really going to be good. I prefer the one that won the second class here today. She'll be your champion. Our November heifer be reserved. That's two good heifers. Congratulations to those two young ladies.
Thank you.
Champion senior heifer calf for the main Anjou side was 45-19. That comes out of Class 116. That is Fresh Change. Chancey Clark, Muldrow, Oklahoma. The reserve comes out of Class 115, 45-17, Frizzle Franzel. Sammy Schrag, Marion, South Dakota. Up next, we have a single class, which is also a division. Class 117, early summer yearling females born May through August 2018. Class 117, the ring next for main Anjou Open females, which is also your summer yearling female division championship.
Well, as we get into this division here, lots of great class winners out here. And we start with this heifer that wins the first class, just a single entry, but that's a really, really outstanding female, and one that I think ties together the basics of structure and function and body shape and maternal qualities. And when that young lady gets her stopped and put together, that is one that's very, very neat in the way that she blends everything together as far as her transitions and her lines and her spine, and just everything she gives you reads with a lot of quality. We get into our second class winner, and one that I think is an awesome brood cow. And she may not be everybody's kind, but when you can have cattle that have that kind of body shape and that kind of power and that honest just pin width and dimension that this heifer brings to the table, and still get out and go as good as she does, it's really, really hard to make cattle like that. You know, like I said, she maybe doesn't epitomize just the neatest and the heaviest boned and the hairiest or whatnot, but I love what she represents just as far as just brood cow fundamentals. There's a lot of versatility in that heifer, and I think she represents the strengths of this breed to a very high degree. I love her bower, and I love the way that this heifer can get out and go. We get into our third class winner, and one that's kind of on the other end of the script. This is a heifer that, this young lady gets her put together. That's a really neat, attractive, smooth-made kind of female that is really good in her hip structure, drops a really correct and really kind of neat hind leg structure. She's one that she's moderate. I don't care about size. I think she's a good moderate heifer. I do wish that she was showing just a little further signs of calf, and for her size, I'd like to just open her up all the way, but that young lady gets her propped up and gets her put together. That heifer has a tremendous amount of breeding opportunity and quality nonetheless. So to me, it's pretty obvious the one that I like out here, maybe a little closer between a couple of heifers that are a little bit different as far as their kind goes. But if you would, before I select my champions, give these kids a nice round of applause and we'll get you a division winner.
Champion junior heifer for the Charolais is 518 on the Class 731A. CCBS Call Me Maybe 8906 ETP. Jenna Telak from Pearl, Iowa. And your reserve is the right in your program from Class 731B. That's 521. TRMS Sister Bevan, 8630F. That's Taylor Goring, McPherson, Kansas. Up next for the Charolais, we'll bring all our division champion and reserves in. This will be your grand champion Charolais heifer selection. Once again, this is your grand champion lineup coming in the ring for the Charolais. Our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. Livestock judging team coach and assistant professor at Iowa State University, graduate of Blackhawk East and Texas A&M, then went on to receive his PhD in cow-calf nutrition and management at the University of Illinois. His wife is Katie. They have 2 sons, also co-own C5 Angus, where they market show heifers to junior exhibitors. Our judge, once again, Dr. Chris Cassidy from Ankeny, Iowa. Also want to thank Miss Charolais USA, Bailey Mangrum from Marmaduke, Arkansas. AICA board members, President Mike Shoemaker, Cheryl Lux, Spencer Schrader, Donnie Letty, past president Larry Ludicky, junior board helping us in the ring, the stewards, Molly Smith, Kimmy Duran, Devin Menace, and Haley Schweck. The staff from the Charolais, appreciate them as well. Executive Vice President J. Neil Orth, Director of Activities David Hobbs, Field Representatives Floyd Wampler, Colt Keffer, Cody Beck, and Ty Groshans, and Director of Youth Activities Caitlin Chisholm, as well as Communications and Events Coordinator Rachel Booth. Thank you to all of our Charolais staff and board members and junior board members that are helping us in the ring. And once again, Miss Charolais USA. And our judge, Dr. Chris Cassidy, Ankeny, Iowa. This again will be for the grand champion, Charolais Heifer, and the reserve grand champion, Charolais Heifer selection. After this, on that side of the ring, we have the Junior Shorthorn Heifer show and the Junior Shorthorn Plus Heifer show. All that's scheduled to start at 11 a.m.
Well, folks, here at ringside, as we go to wrap up our Champion Charolais show, a really phenomenal show, and you know, you never know what to expect as you sort through a lot of different shows, but you come to the National Western, and this first couple of groups of calves come through the ring, and I knew we were going to be in for a good day, and it's been all qualities kind of held through all the way through at the end of the final divisions here. So my hat's off to all of you kids and you breeders and all of the guys that are in the back helping getting these cattle presented. So, you know, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I know you've got some busy things ahead of you, but you know, I've had a long trip. I brought my team out here earlier this week, and you know, we spent a little time out in the yards with the family and showed some Angus, and now I get a chance to step in here and sort the Charolais show. So I've been able to kind of do a lot of different things, and I'm obviously ready to go home, to be honest, to tell you that. But I think it's been a really fun trip for me. My wife and my family are here. I don't get that as often, and you know, I guess I could do a lot of crazy things, and I like this week, I spent a lot of time on the road working with other people's kids, but you know, my wife is what keeps the wheels on the bus back at home, and she takes care of our kids. And my parents have got the kids here so that we could get together and have a little bit of fun. So the 2020 National Western has been probably as much fun as I've ever had. And so I'm going to go home pretty darn tired, but I can tell you guys thanks. I appreciate if you're thinking of me. I enjoy working with your kids. I really admire this breed, and the things that you guys have done as far as putting genetics together, I think is absolutely second to none. So thanks to the Charolais Association. I appreciate the invitation. It's always meaningful to step in a ring that's got so much history behind it. Thank you to the juniors for allowing me to come out here. Thanks to the National Western for inviting me as well. I'm not going to talk anymore in this particular lineup. You've heard me describe these cattle enough. I think when you get to our champion drive, it just gives you the opportunity to use the one that hits you the hardest. So I'm going to do that here in just a second. But again, it's all about the kids in this ring. So those of you ringside, if you'd help me congratulate them, put your hands together and give them a nice round of applause as I select your champion and reserve female.
Grand champion Charolais Heifer for the 2020 National Western Stock Show comes out of the Junior Heifer Division. That's 518 CCBS. Call Me Maybe. We'll call her champion today. Jenna Telak, Pearl, Iowa. And your reserve grand champion for the 2020 National Western Stock Show Comes out of that very first division. That's 441. RR, Miss Gigi, 901 GET, Zane Potter, Porter, Texas. Once again, coming up next will be the Shorthorn Plus shows in that side of the show ring. The start time is 11 a.m. My mistake on the reserve grand champion. 490, Belle Elvira, 399 ET, Ruby Grace Bell, Bristol, Oklahoma. I flipped back too far on my pages, folks. My apologies. Reserve grand champion, 490, Belle Elvira, 399 ET, Ruby Grace Bell, Bristol, Oklahoma.
Well, for everybody standing around looking on this May yearling